Before we go too much further, I want to talk about two very important concepts, outlining and flowing. And I want to talk about these because I think these are going to be very useful in general for you as you're delivering and developing speeches, but also we're going to be doing this a lot in the impromptu specifically. So outlining you're probably familiar with. You've probably been doing this a lot. It's just basically preparing a speech in a hierarchical structure. Now we're going to, when we get to the persuasive, we'll actually do some more manuscript stuff. But to start with, for the impromptu speech and the informative speech, we're working in an outline format. And why are we doing this? Because I think outlines really set you up to extemporize well. So last week, of course, we talked about why and how reading manuscripts can get you into trouble in terms of adopting more of a performance orientation, maybe having some monotone issues. But we're going to start off our study of speech by working in a format that really allows you to carefully plan what you want to say. An outline gives you that sort of amount of control. So it's going to allow you to carefully prepare what you want to say, but it also enables you to easily engage in a communication orientation. So what might one of these sample outlines look like? Well, for the impromptu, it's probably going to look a little bit like this, right? We've got a basic introduction. I've got what probably my opening device is going to be, what my thesis is, preview of my main points. I've got the body of the speech, my two main points. I've got sort of what the language is of those main points, and we'll get to that later this week. And then I've kind of mapped out what my examples are. So I kind of know which way I'm running in that speech, but working off of an outline, I can extemporize it. I can have those words emerge at that moment in response to the specific situation. So that's a basic outline. Now that's probably something you're fairly familiar with. The other concept that I want to talk through is flowing. Flowing is just the flip side of outlining. Flowing is taking notes on a speech in an outline format. So why are we going to be flowing? Well, flowing is very useful as an evaluative and analytical tool because it allows you as a listener to track where the speaker is clear, where they're unclear, where the argument is strong, where the argument is weak. So we outline our speeches and we're going to flow the speeches of others. And I think both of these work together to sort of help you prepare speeches better and analyze speeches more critically and being aware of the various moving parts in each speech. So what we're going to do now is we're going to watch a sample speaker. And you'll see a split screen here. And on one side is going to be the speaker doing a sample impromptu, a student that I had who volunteered to help me out, doing a sample impromptu speech. And then the other side will be, you'll see my flow. That's my ugly hand and my terrible handwriting. So you'll see kind of how I'm listening. I hadn't heard the speech before, so I'm just sort of on the fly taking notes in an outline format. I do apologize for the handwriting. By the way, that's good for me, so I've made huge advancements, but it's awful. It's just terrible. But we're going to go ahead and take a look at that now, and then I'll come back and sort of talk a little bit more about how outlining and flowing can really help you out.
So in these times of struggling economies, many universities are looking towards ways to save money. And one of these ways that universities are looking to cut from the budget is cutting small departments with few student majors. And I believe that we should not enact this policy for two main reasons. Firstly, because it is harmful for students, and secondly, because it doesn't guarantee savings. But first, let me go into why this policy would be harmful for students. Well, firstly, it would hinder student interest. If a student's passion and future career goal is dance, and the department is cut, well, that student can no longer pursue their career option. And so it is harmful for students who already know what they may want to be pursuing, which may be more unique fields of opportunity. The second reason why this policy would be harmful for students is because it does not cater to post-university goals. And what I mean by this is that competitive markets, such as graduate schools and jobs, are looking for students who bring in unique backgrounds. And one great way of doing so is having an out-of-the-ordinary educational upbringing. Now, if we eliminate these small departments, students are funneled into these larger, more popular educational backgrounds, and therefore do not look as appealing to schools and jobs. And so, because this policy would not cater to student interest nor to future student opportunities, we can see that this policy simply wouldn't be beneficial to enact. But moving on to why this policy would not guarantee monetary savings. I believe this firstly because we would see a decrease in tuition revenue. Students who are looking towards these small departments and excited about these small majors would now be looking towards other schools to fulfill their educational needs. And therefore, we may see decreased enrollment rates. And since student tuition is such a huge part of university budgets today, we would see an incredible decrease in university revenue. So secondly, universities would also have to accommodate for larger departments. These students that were originally in small departments and small majors would be funneled into these existing departments and therefore increase class sizes and majors sizes. And so as a result, universities would have to hire more professors, more teaching assistants, and more faculty to accommodate these larger departments. And so because of this and this increased need in the university budget, we wouldn't necessarily see monetary savings. And so because we would see a decrease in tuition revenues and an increased need for accommodating larger departments, we can see that enacting this policy would not necessarily save money. And so in conclusion, universities need to find a better way to save money. Cutting these small departments and small majors simply isn't a beneficial option for anyone. Firstly, because it is harmful for students, and secondly, because it does not guarantee savings.
So that was my flow of the speech. Again, apologies for the handwriting, but I would imagine your flow of that speech looks more or less the same. So I would recommend that you start flowing speeches in general, because I really do believe it changes how you listen to and interact with a speech. And the reason this is, I think, is because there's so many things going on in a speech. Outlining and flowing allow you to see these various components and analyze those various components in isolation, as well as how those various components interact with one another. So in the next lecture, we're going to take up the key elements of argument that you're going to be using in the impromptu speech. But I did think it was important to sort of talk to both outlining and flowing at this stage in the class.